because they overspent on the Myerstown and Greenbrier culverts. Well, you're not going to be able to drive on the roads if you don't have maintenance.
Okay, thank you for joining us here in Huntington Township. We're going to do a year in review for 2025, and we're going to start with personnel changes.
First thing I want people to know is that Huntington Township is a really small community. We only have about 2,000 residents. So these changes in personnel have really created an issue for the township building and those people that are supposedly running our township. The first one being our zoning officer, Gus Vrindenvals. In May, it was announced that he was terminated. Of course, because the Board of Supervisors never know what's going on, and Gus had been there for so long, they had to quickly get someone in so that there would be a smooth or as smooth a transition as possible. So they hired consultant Scott Longstreth from Shara Design, and they appointed him as the zoning officer at his rate, his engineering rate of $103 an hour, which the attendees at the meeting, the residents, were a little upset about that because Gus was only making $23.50 an hour.
And that was after a raise from this year.
That was after a raise. He was previously making 22 something. So that was the first issue and it's because the township supervisors have a hands-off approach to the community and the township. So the second one, personnel, was Pat Davis, who was secretary-treasurer. She was there for 40 years. She had announced her retirement in March, and unfortunately, she passed away in August. Now, whether something was done, I'm not sure if they even advertised. I think they may have, but no one's interested in these small township jobs because even though to some people it would be a job with money coming in, I mean, the new secretary that they hired, Julie Dinges, is making $36,000 a year, and that's salaried. In October, it was announced that Dave Boyer had resigned his chairman and as supervisor. There was no written resignation. He just got up and said, "I'm done." So they had a meeting the following month where they had letters of interest from 4 different people. 2 were farmers in the area. One is the assistant fire chief for York Springs Fire Department, and Ron Resch was on the planning committee. Well, who did they pick? Part of the clique. Ron Resch. I was really pleased that Cody Lear had brought up, well, he's going to have to resign because you can't have 2 supervisors on the planning commission. Well, the attorney that was filling in for Todd King indicated, well, I'll have to research that. But at the next planning commission meeting, Ron Resch resigned. So Cody Lear was right. How come Cody Lear knows something that an attorney who represents municipalities doesn't know? I was amazed at it. I mean, I brought up that there was a conflict of interest because 2 of them would be at a meeting. And it was later discussed that that would be a quorum of 2 supervisors. And that is, you're not allowed to do that. In October, elected auditor Susie Heilman, which was a long-term auditor, had also resigned. They had no letters of interest for that position, so they weren't quite sure, and they thought that they would hire a CPA, which is legal under the second class township code. Pat would hand everything off to the auditors that was required, and no one there knew that, and including the new secretary. So they have to hire a CPA to do that. In December, it was announced that the township was now eliminating the assistant secretarial position as of December 31st, and that Chad Asper, the assistant roadmaster, also resigned. The roadmaster back in the spring indicated he wanted authorization to hire a part-time CDL driver so that they could do their road chipping maintenance. He's gotten a lot of equipment. They bought a roller for him. They also purchased another type of equipment. And what happened was they hired Jeff King's stepson to take that position. So now, Jeff King is supervisor. Chuck King, Jeff's brother, is roadmaster. And his son, Jeff King's son, or stepson, is actually as part-time CDL. And Jeff King's brother-in-law, Mr. Enzer, is on the planning committee. So he's got 4 people employed by the township, which really, people should take note of that.
But technically, it's kind of like what you said earlier. There's only 2,000 residents in the township, and who really wants these jobs?
Yeah, no one can work with the clique because they're not nice people. Ever since Mr. Lear left, there's really no one that is people-oriented. And when Ron Resch was appointed the supervisor position, there was a lot of discussion about that because Cody Lear brought up, it's always someone in the clique that's appointed in a vacancy, and that this township has been run by the same families for years and years, and that it's just, especially this past year, I think we've seen the turmoil because of their hands-off way of doing, of allowing the 2 employees, longtime employees, to run the place. And now Julie Dinges thinks she runs the place too. Okay. At the December meeting, there was great concern from residents about the amount of money left in the general fund. That was because they had the Greenbrier culvert replaced and also Myerstown. They had been talking about it for 3 years, and when they finally had to do it because Greenbrier's culvert collapsed in a rainstorm, the road maintenance projects were canceled. And in June, Dave Boyer indicated that they had to cancel the tar and chipping road project for 3 roads due to the cost of Greenbrier and the possible amount that they were going to have to pay for Myerstown culvert replacement. So at the December meeting, one of the concerns of residents was the low amount of money that's in the general fund. They've always had $1 million in reserve for their projects. And in June, Dave Boyer canceled the tar and chipping road project, which was for 3 roads, and it only was going to be 3.5 miles of road to maintain. They were putting that out to bid. They got the bids in, and it was anywhere from like $114,000 to $143,000. So Dave Boyer in June indicated, due to finances and the fact that Greenbrier road culvert was replaced, and Myerstown was going to be another large bill that they were going to cancel the road projects for this year. So quite a few residents were upset about it because this has never happened. And Mark Lear indicated he was roadmaster for 16 years, and they always had money for that road maintenance project. So you had asked me to review the videos to see how many Sunshine Act violations there were this past year, and there were 3. April 19th, the supervisors meeting where a motion was made to authorize the roadmaster to hire a part-time CDL driver for the 2025 road projects, which have been canceled.
Mm-hmm.
So the motion was made, and it was incorrect on the minutes. I had asked them to correct that because they gave authorization to the roadmaster to hire a CDL part-time driver, and they refused to do that. So I asserted a Sunshine Act violation because the hiring of a part-time CDL driver was not on that agenda. So the next one was November 13th. The agenda was not posted 24 hours in advance, and the zoning officer, Mr. Longstreth, who handles that, claimed that it was on the door. He also indicated that he didn't know anything about the website, and that's why it wasn't on the website. Well, that's too bad. So I asserted another violation. November 24th.
You said he didn't know anything about the website?
Yes. Because they have to have it on the website.
I get that. I didn't catch that.
And he
How would he
claimed
not know
that he didn't know anything about the website. So November 24th, agenda was not posted 24 hours in advance. I was really pleased to see that Mr. Longstreth, at the very beginning of the meeting, interrupted at the very beginning to say, I want to apologize to everyone that the agenda was not on the website because he didn't send the agenda to the webmaster, who is Misfit Inc., I believe, and she never got it because it was too late, and she posted it at 10 o'clock on Monday morning. And he told Roxy Sobel, note that in the minutes. So I was very happy about that. At least he, I guess, learned from his mistake. So with all the negative nonsense that goes on down the township, I thought that I'd like to review some good results that we've gotten through right to know requests and bringing it to the attention of the supervisors. One was the American Disabilities Act of 1990. I think it was my sister and I had brought up about not being able to hear them because of hearing issues. So when that was brought up and they kind of poo-pooed that off, I decided, well, let me check about the ADA. And I found out that in 1990, when that was enacted, all townships and all facilities were supposed to go down a checklist and make a report of anything that had to be done to bring that building up to par with the ADA recommendations, or actually the laws. So after I got my right to know request, finding out that they never did this in 1990, Mr. Boyer at a meeting announced that he had hired an architect and they were going to go over this, a checklist. I'm not sure how far they went, actually. I think they did very minor because they had to just change the door in the front. They had to paint the 2 spaces for handicapped people to park. I remember going down to the township building for a meeting and seeing that, and I was like, wow, way to go.
Now, was this during the time that Gus was working there, that this was taking place, or was this after he was terminated?
This was afterwards. And then another one through, just watching a video from out near Pittsburgh, there's a municipality where I listen in on their meetings on YouTube, and they start talking about their volunteer fire department having issues with their audit. And that's where I learned that they're actually online, and the boards for these fire departments, these volunteer fire departments, have to file it with the Attorney General. And so when I checked online and saw York Springs and Heidelberg actually had a very minor thing which they corrected in the next audit because they're done every 2 years. But York Springs kept kind of not following up and changing or getting rid of the deficiency in their report. And one was about they didn't have an inventory of their equipment. And then the other item was these fire departments are broken into a board, which is responsible for administration, and then the volunteers are separate. That the volunteer fire department is just different. They're not responsible for, I guess, the accounting. It's the actual board. So there was a check written out incorrectly from one of those 2 entities, and it had to just be reversed. And they kept it on the books, and when I had called the Attorney General's office, I was told by the gentleman who handles the audits that York Springs could have lost their funding from the state that they get. So when I brought that up, of course, they were upset that I even talked about it. But Boyer actually checked into it, and they got it corrected. I mean, if I had not brought that up, that would have went on, and they would have lost their funding. And I didn't know how boards kind of neglect this stuff. So those were two very important issues that just through a right to know request were corrected. And that's why people should be involved with their townships and ask for what's going on. Why is this not done? Like, you research it, you take it into them, and they should correct this stuff. And I was very pleased that they did, actually. I mean, another one, which I forgot about to mention, is live streaming. The township started to live stream because they got ticked at that we were putting the meetings online, and that people were starting to figure out what they were doing down here, or what they weren't doing down here. Another thing we did was Jamie Waldron, a resident, had an issue with EB Clearing, which is a business where they do mulch. They sell mulch and they produce mulch. And he had a serious issue, and nobody was listening to him. He came to the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors, and they kept saying, you have to go to the DEP. DEP said, no, go to the Conservation District. And he kept being shuffled around from the Adams County Commissioners. So I think it was late February, we decided to give him a voice. And we went to his property, and he told his story about what had taken place, why he was upset with the business, and he only wanted them to be in compliance with the state laws. That's all he didn't want to get them in trouble. He just wanted to make sure that they had the proper permits and that they were doing what they had to do. So that made me feel really good that we gave him a voice and that he was able to tell his story, and he hasn't had an issue since. Although, wait a minute. One of the right to know requests, which I forgot, which was a negative, we found out that the township elected township tax collector Roxy Sobel elected Supervisor Paul Geis, and Laura Hope deletes township records, which is a no-no. It's a criminal offense to tamper or destroy records, public records. So, I just want to wish our subscribers and viewers a Happy New Year, best wishes, and we will see you in the coming months.